You are watching the video version of the Marketing Should Be Fun podcast. We are so glad that you are here. If you prefer to listen to podcasts, you can find the Marketing Should Be Fun show on any of your favorite podcast platforms, whether that's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere else. But most of all, we're so glad you're here, and I hope that you enjoy today's conversation. Well, hello and welcome back to another episode, the first episode of 2025 of Marketing Should Be Fun. My name's Austin Savage. I'm the founder of Savage Content Collective. I'm here with my good friend, Kelsey Zarko, who is the founder of Curate Social. Kelsey, Happy New Year. Happy 2025. Happy welcome back to the Marketing Should Be Fun show. Anything else that I should say happy for?
I just feel like this was our moment when you wanted the party poppers. Like this was the episode. We could have had the little there we go.
I've literally been saying that I want that for like 2 years.
You have. Maybe this year for your birthday, I'll find some. You can have a birthday episode.
The funny thing is I probably won't even like it. Like if we actually do it, I probably will.
It'll throw you off. You'll be stressed. Yeah.
I'll find it overwhelming. And then the sound will probably not be as fun as I think that it is. So
our poor editor.
And don't those like party poppers, or at least the ones that you like blow, don't they? Like it's more just like crinkly sound than it is.
I don't know that it actually makes it like a horn sound. It's just this year on New Year's Eve, we had everyone in our home group over, which is like 27 kids. Not kidding.
Wow.
And we forgot and didn't get the ones that just like blow out and come back. We got the actual ones that like are trumpets. Terrible decision. I literally opened up a garbage sack and I was like, put them in here.
Kids, put them back.
The fun is over. It was very loud.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that is no, not for me. Literally noise. Noise is the hardest thing as a parent, I think.
It's true. It's very overstimulating.
It's so loud. So loud. Kelsey, I'm a reader now.
I know.
2024 came to a close and I'm a reader.
I'm so proud.
I have literally gone from not reading at all. Basically. I mean, I would read 2 to 4 books a year, I would say.
That might be a stretch.
I don't know. I think saying the 2 on the bottom end of that is fair.
Okay, I'll give you the 2. There was that one year you read the book about time for like 14 months. So anyway, carry on.
That is also true. But then I finish it, in the year. And so then it's like, anyways, ever since Thanksgiving, I'm about to finish my 5th book.
Oh my gosh. You just blew your record out of the water in like 2 months. It's amazing. So fun. What are you reading right now?
It's so fun. I'm still on the ACOTAR series. So, the pop fantasy, is that what you call it? I don't know. And I don't think that you've read this series. You had read, I started with Fourth Wing and Iron Flame, and Onyx Storm comes out at least in 5 days as we're recording this. So excited.
Can't wait.
It's going to be very fun. But this series has also been very good. And it's definitely different. It's like a little more, I think it's like better written, honestly, than Fourth Wing and Iron Flame.
Okay.
But it's like slower in some places too. So it's but it's very good. And so
I'm so glad you found like a fun hobby. Welcome to the world of I would rather go read my book than do any of my responsibilities. So that's real.
Yep. I am living that life.
Yeah.
So it's fun. And I'm glad just to join you on the
I'm proud.
The book life.
Random, unpopular opinion, maybe popular opinion. Just when you get done with this series, do not sleep on the actual non-fantasy writing of the Fourth Wing author, Rebecca Yarros.
Ooh, yeah, her romance
yeah,
stuff.
It's like kind of, it's romance and like realistic fiction and it's really good. I read those after Fourth Wing and like cried and read them all in like 3 days and the whole situation.
Oh, that's so fun. Have you read her most recent release? I forget what it's called, but it starts with a V.
I think I read it. I'll have to go back and look. We will recap. Okay. We will return to this on our second episode when we also talk about the 3rd book, because we'll have a whole, it'll just be the Rebecca Yarros episode. So stay tuned, everyone.
Maybe I am all for that.
We should do a deep dive on her marketing. Okay, carry on.
We absolutely should. Actually, it has been kind of interesting because she hasn't done a ton, only like what the publisher has required of her. So
yeah, it's all UGC. All.
Yes. It's pretty fascinating. Maybe we should, because I'm actually kind of pumped on it. And this actually leads into our this or that for the day. Yeah. So let me hold my tongue for a second. Not a true this or that, but as we kick off 2025, I was kind of just thinking of like, what's bringing us life, you know, in all of our meetings with my team. And I know all the meetings that we used to have, tears.
Wah, wah. We're here right now. We're here.
We always open it with a question of what's bringing you life, what's stressing you out, just to kind of start the meeting. Yeah. And I was just thinking of what's bringing you life right now. And so I was curious, what are one or multiple social accounts that you are enjoying right now? What's bringing you life over on probably over on the gram for you?
You know, it's the only place I live. I love this question. I have so many, but I will keep it to 3 and I will be brief-ish. No promises. Okay. My first one is kind of, you and I already talked about this a little bit. Wonderled Life. It's actually at wonderled.life.
Yeah.
Favorite account right now. It's so cute, and cute isn't a powerful enough word, but it's basically childhood, like nostalgic. Think like Peter Rabbit and like Richard Scarry and all of that, like from when we were little, paired with like really gentle, like helpful reminders. It's just so fun. I shared it on my stories a couple days ago, and like it's probably the most DM'd thing I've ever had like posted, which is crazy. So like people were like, thank you for posting this. I'm following along now. And I'm like, just give me a shout out if you want me to, you know, be your influencer person who runs this account. But it really resonated with a lot of people. And so I just think that it's really fun to see. Now I've just been watching like people share it into their stories. What I really thought was interesting from like the nerdy social media manager side of my life is that you can actually go see when she switched her strategy to this new style.
Oh, really?
Yep. It's not that long ago. And her likes are like, it was like 1,000. Yeah. She was getting like 1,000 likes, which is still a lot. And now she's at like 28.3 thousand. So just was a good reminder too of like, you can switch it up whenever you want if something feels more true to you or resonating with people. But it is a really fun account right now.
I love that. I have loved every time. I actually haven't followed them yet, but I've loved every time you've shared that. I need to go follow them because I enjoy it.
Yeah, it's really sweet. Do you want me to share my other 2, or do you have some you want to?
Yeah, share your other 2.
Okay. My other 2 are shorter. I won't go on as long of a soapbox, but the other one, this is a really funny one. It's at American Girl Women. And for all of my 90s friends who had American Girl dolls, it is literally an account dedicated to like 90s American Girl nostalgia.
Really?
Yes, literally. It's like the old magazines, like American Girl today is very different than it was obviously in the 90s. Okay. And so it's like all the old branding and like the old products are like, it's just so funny. And I did see this when I was doing like some market research at the beginning of the year that nostalgia accounts are like one of the hot types of accounts this year. I mean, you see that with like what I used to wear when I went clubbing or whatever. And so it's just really fun. I love that somebody is like that dedicated to remembering all of the things and that they like has saved them. Like all those people who have those moms who save everything in their attic, like this is your moment.
This is the moment. This is the time. 2025 is the year. Yes. That's hilarious. Wow. And that's not sponsored by American Girl.
No, it's the 2 people. I haven't done a lot. I mean, I just kind of watch it and like it. I don't know, but there's the 2 people who founded it are tagged in the bio. So I don't know what their story is. I'll have to look at it sometime.
Yeah.
And then I'll say my third one that's giving me life. I don't know that I necessarily like agree with every single thing shared on the page, and you don't have to follow someone. But I just think that it's so interesting to see, like it keeps popping up in my feed. It's Nurtured First. I'm not sure if you followed them or not.
I'm not familiar.
Yeah. I think you would really like it. It's like parenting encouragement from like a Nurtured First, and just like thinking through like emotionally, you know, being emotionally safe for our kids and reacting different ways. But her whole way that she shares information is just carousels of her, like a picture, like the same picture, and then just like writing out a conversation over like 15 slides. And that is, I'm seeing that everywhere right now. But she really is growing that way. And there's not a lot of reels. She's just, you know, sharing lessons, almost like maybe she's written them somewhere else before, and now she's like sharing them there. But I'm seeing it a lot of places. And so I just think it's fun to see from like a content creation standpoint, to think through it that way. And then a lot of times what she shares is super helpful, just as a mom with a 6-year-old boy who is learning to regulate.
Yes, it is hard. It is hard.
It's very hard.
And you got to regulate yourself first. Yes. So that's what they always say. It's like, this is so hard.
I need to walk away for a minute. Now I'm coming back.
It's like, am I still a child? I might be.
There's one inside of all of us.
Truth. Those are good. I'm gonna check out those second two accounts. I will not follow the American Girl one, but I am gonna check it out because I'm curious.
That's fair. You might send it to Larissa. She might enjoy it.
Yeah, I can't remember if she. I think that she did have some of those, but I can't remember if that was big for her or not. But
I want to hear yours. I don't know if they're on the gram, so I'm curious to hear.
They are. I would say that most of these are. Fingers crossed that TikTok does not go away when this episode comes out. But first off, I am just fully on Bookstagram/BookTok now. Fully.
Look at you.
So every other post.
Fully invested.
It wasn't even intentional. I don't even know. Like I didn't even search for these things. But then I just
you talking.
Yeah, it hears you. And then I just started getting all of this like Fourth Wing content. And so I don't know that there's actually a specific, I have like started following people who are, book creators. And more than anything, just an encouragement, just get on Bookstagram. It's fascinating. If you like fantasy content, there's a whole side of Instagram to it. If you like just fiction or whatever, Bookstagram is fascinating. It's very fun. There's so many podcasts. There's so many creators and people like, it's fascinating. They do like my book haul and then they like rate them. And then it's like, there's this whole trend where you're like overrated, underrated, accurately rated or whatever. And it's very fun. That's what I consume now.
You're all in.
So that's a general one, but 3 specific accounts. And these are ones that I've enjoyed for a while, but just at the start of the year that I was like, this is content that I have enjoyed recently. But I'm big into poetry. And I've bought a poetry book from this creator before. His name is Trev Saminsky. And his handle is kind of interesting. It's _a_hound. And I have no idea what it represents, honestly.
You should DM him and ask him.
I should. I did share one of his poems to my stories, and he responded back to me, which was pretty cool. But he, I think, has been posting a little bit less, but just simple videos. He just reads or says poetry. He's a real scratchy voice, and it's really just nice to listen to.
Yeah, it's vibey.
It's very vibey, but his words are very beautiful, and so that's like a really fun poetry account. Very good, like just inspiration. I think it like brings you into your feels a little bit. That's one that I've been enjoying. This is another one that they actually have a affirmations book as well that I need to purchase. But there's a pretty big account called We the Urban. They just share affirmations, and it's interesting because I shared a video yesterday on YouTube about my phrase about how there's no rules in content marketing.
Still
and
working on the t-shirt.
So yeah, please come on. But one of the things that I said in there is like, you don't necessarily have to follow like the best practices. And, one of those things is like, if somebody asked, should I use video on social media? The answer that we would typically give is yes, but there are many accounts that are growing without doing that, even though it's not a best practice. And We the Urban is honestly a great example of that. Like they just share carousels of just affirmations. And it's really interesting because they're promoting their product like in the middle of the carousel. So you'll be like, you swipe through 3, you swipe to another, and it's just a picture of their book that says like, I don't know who needs to hear this, I think is what it's titled. And then then you just keep going. And it's just like really subtle kind of promotion of like what they've created. But they do really, really well and are a very popular account. And I like a lot of the things that they share. And then a comedy account that I have been enjoying, Devin Palmer. I don't know if you follow this person. It is the driest, most like odd humor, but it's freaking funny. It is so funny.
I'll look it up.
Like he does just these sketches and they're silly concepts. Like one was like about a gym membership and this guy named Jim showed up and just was like, just there to support him. And then like they figured out, they're like, oh my gosh, we love this gym membership. Like this is the best. Like we're so glad that we made a mistake. And it's just like very funny. And I don't know if you like it. It's a little dry, but it's another account that I enjoy. So Devon Palmer.
Okay. I'm gonna have to go look those up.
I've been enjoying.
That's fun. I liked this or that. That wasn't really a this or that, but was still fun.
Yeah, just this and this is really what that was.
Perfect. So, I like that.
I love it. Okay, so today we wanted to go through 4 barriers that we see consistently and that people often experience to creating content consistently. And as any of our listeners know, if you've listened to any episode, I'm sure that you have heard this word from us, consistency. We talk about it. It's one of the biggest game changers, honestly, in success with content marketing and just growth on and just digital marketing is consistency is something that's going to help you build trust. It is going to help you add value, and it is going to help you create community. All three things that we just talked about in our, the ABCs of content marketing mini series that we shared at the end of 2024. And today we just wanted to talk about the things that kind of prevent people from doing that, the biggest barriers to that. And so keep it simple today. Keep it nice. Keep it easy to consume as we're all settling.
Nice and digestible for the new year.
Truth. But settling into the year. And so I'm going to throw this first one at you, Kelsey, because I'm curious what your thoughts are on it. But I think one of the biggest barriers that I feel like I hear is time, especially from like creators or business owners who like are just starting out, or, it just feels like there's so much on their plate, like getting to creating content, even recording a video for social media, writing a blog, any of those things, if they haven't hired somebody to support them, or, hired an agency like ours to, kind of help them stay consistent, it can feel kind of overwhelming to find time to make content a priority. So how are you seeing that play out with, people that you're talking to? And, what's some advice that you feel like you're giving?
Yeah. I have so many thoughts. Surprise, surprise. I think this is the number one, struggle or roadblock that I hear is maybe a couple, which we'll get to, but this is definitely up there of like, I don't have time. It takes so much time. Often, we'll talk in a little bit about how like they don't really know how to do it. So then that feels even like a bigger time commitment of like, I have to learn how to do it and then keep up with it. A couple, thoughts and things I share with people. It does take time. Like this isn't one where I can be like, oh, hey, you're actually looking at it the wrong way. Think about it from this angle. It does take time. And so it's more of a mindset shift of how much it matters and the value that it brings versus, hey, I can find a corner to cut for this.
Yeah. Quick hack or something.
Yeah. I mean, sure. There's a lot of things. I mean, I'm like the biggest fan of like batching your content, and there's always ways we can be like more productive and just more streamlined. But at the end of the day, if you want to create content and it's important to your brand, like it is going to take time, just like many things in your business that are worthwhile and that will contribute to your growth. So that is one thing. I also think it is one of the smartest things you can outsource, and arguably a huge reason you and I are both in business. When, you don't have to be the master of everything. You shouldn't if you're owning a business or running an organization or leading something out. So it is a very great place to save time, where you can still be, I tell people all the time, I created Curate so that you can stay connected to your brand. You don't have to be completely, distanced from it. Same for you. But the execution of it isn't on your shoulders. So I think with time, if you're looking to outsource it, there are many components of content, and not every single component needs to be on your shoulders. And then if you're not at a place to outsource it, I do think it's a lot of just, mindset work and thinking through. You talk all the time, Austin, about like what brings you life about creating content. If you're trying to do something just because you think you should do it and you hate it, well, it's probably a good sign that that's not the right type of content, and likely a different type that you enjoy may, take you less time because you're not just like fighting it, or it'll get quicker because you have to build that muscle just like anything in life. So those are kind of some of my initial thoughts.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely agree. Obviously, like this isn't a sales episode, but I do agree. Like it is a really nice thing to outsource, and just know that it's like I will be asked for what I'm needed, for what's needed from me, and then the rest is taken care of. I know is a big reliever of stress for a lot of owners or leaders. And I agree. I think that a big thing on this one is the perspective shift in two directions. On one, it's like we don't want to undervalue it, right? Like where, especially if we're kind of ignoring content because it just feels like everything else is more urgent. It's a good sort of reminder of like, okay, well, let me take a step back, because we can't spend all of our time just with what's urgent if we're trying to secure the long-term health of our organization. And finding time for those things, because like we say all the time, content marketing is the long game, right? This isn't something that you're getting quick wins typically from. And so just kind of putting it in that category of like, this is for the future of my business. Like I'm building trust now for success tomorrow in those other areas. And then I also do think, just like you said, it is shifting your perspective about like what content has to look like. Because if it literally is, hopefully you like what you do, hopefully in general, you like what you do. And if it absolutely feels draining to you to talk about what you do and to talk about, the stories and, share those things, then, maybe it's a different medium that you need to leverage. Maybe if you feel pressure to do video and that you don't feel comfortable with that, maybe you're writing out a story, if sharing a ton of graphics and that feels really boring to you. And it's like, I would actually really just prefer to just say what happened, then maybe you switch it up that way. But there's so many different like angles and channels and ways that you can create content that might feel more exciting to you to help you be consistent and help it feel like less of just like a time drain from you. Also, a big shift for people on the time front is usually people are thinking of content as just separate from everything. It's like, this is its own bucket and it's just its own thing. And like, if I want to create content, I have to carve out time just for this. And I think when we can kind of start to think of like just our entire day as like almost just fodder for content, it can help us start to just like plug it in to the rhythm. Like I know I've shared before of things like, maybe you're in a meeting and you're like, ooh, I just answered a really interesting question. It makes it really easy for you to pop out of that meeting and just be like, I can record this 2-minute video that just says, hey, I was just asked this question on this meeting and here's what I said. I think that this is something that a lot of people, have questions about. Great piece of content, very easy, and is something that you can, kind of fit into your day rather than having to schedule, a whole 30 minutes to, put it together separately. So I do agree with you. I think it does take time. And I think there's both perspective shifts we can have, but there are ways that you can, kind of just think about content differently that can help you maybe fit it into your day rather than have to carve out time for it.
Yeah, very well said. I totally agree.
We fixed all your problems if you're struggling with time.
Have a great day. Thanks for joining us. Catch you next time. No, just kidding.
And I do think it is like, it's a legitimate challenge that, a lot of people experience. And I know that you and I, even with our own content, experience that depending on the season, right? There are seasons where creating content looks different and that is also okay. But we just don't want those seasons to be very, very long. That brings us to barrier number 2, obstacle number 2, education. Like you just said before, sometimes people just literally don't know what to do or where to invest their energy. What does that look like?
Yeah. So many people come to me and they're just like, I don't do social media. I don't know how to make a reel or, just lack of confidence of like, I get it. I probably don't know how to do what you do. Like that is, also legitimate of like, we all have the areas that we are super fine tuned and kind of feel like that's our expert area. I think there has never been a more opportune time to find simple ways to learn though. And so that could run the gamut of the spectrum of you can find so many free things on YouTube or HubSpot, or there's lots of free resources to just like gain some information. If you, feel more confident, just having learned that. There's also never been more options for coaching or, investing maybe a smaller amount of money than you would for full, like, hey, you just do it all for me, for people to walk alongside you and teach you some things. Just like anything, I feel like, I hope that you are not expecting a bunch of quick hacks from this episode. But just like anything, it is hard. Yeah. It's the perspective shift of if I, want to create compelling content marketing, or if this is an important part, if I believe in what I'm doing, then I'm going to create the content to support it. And that might mean that I need to invest a little bit of time, energy, money, and learning about it. And so just to encourage you that there are so many options of ways to do that today. So just feeling like I don't know how to do it doesn't have to be, what terminates on itself. You can learn, you can try something new. Also, we say all the time, Austin has his t-shirt, there are no rules. So just try it too. I mean, if you're the kind of person who just learns by doing, the worst thing that can happen is you post it and you're like, oh, I didn't like that and you delete it. Okay, that's fine. Like lower the risk a little bit and lower the pressure and just start messing around. I think people really respect just the courage to try and to get in the arena and, be the one out there. And so again, I don't know that I'm giving you any quick hacks, but I am giving you just the reminder that that's normal and it's okay to start where you are and, keep moving forward.
Yeah. I mean, you got to start somewhere. So if you're going to create content, and it doesn't even have to just be about, social, it could just even be like, it feels challenging to get started on like what blogs you should start writing. I mean, there are absolutely people who, even if you don't want to like hire someone to write blogs for you, there are absolutely people who can help you understand how to identify opportunities for blogs. And, whether it's a coaching relationship or, anything like that, there are great kind of like low ticket opportunities to get started, on any content channel that you're trying to leverage. The truth, like, just observe also, like, as you're looking and just thinking of like, what content do I like consuming, and like what feels interesting, like we just talked about, to me, and then trying to emulate those things, before you kind of craft your own style or your own, like approach to content. It's totally fine to, emulate what other people are doing. And, even to look for opportunities to kind of like copy those styles in your own industry or with your own content. I think that's a, big opportunity. It's just, especially if you spend time in the places that you're, trying to create content on, and, just having that confidence to take a shot and, to go for it, I think is really important.
Mm-hmm. I think back to, I was a second grade teacher many, many moons ago, and about 4 careers before this. And what we would do with our kids is study, we would study like a mentor text, or we would study like, hey, here's what a poem looks like, or whatever. And so I totally agree that looking at the things that are out there and that you like, of course we're not copying, but you are studying and learning and just kind of observing like, hey, what is a well-performing piece of content, as much as that can mean so many different things. My husband does like some life coaching on the side. And one of the things we do is look at internal wirings and how you're kind of wired. And one of them is, are you like a primary ideas or a secondary ideas type of person?
Yeah.
Secondary ideas is like, hey, I see something and I can go make 100 things because I, saw that one thing, versus maybe some others are, I'm going to think of the original idea. Neither of, it's not a bad, good thing. It's just a different type of wiring. And I think that secondary idea thing can be so key here, of looking at or listening to types of content and just using that to kind of inspire where you want to go with things next.
Yeah. I know that you and I both experience this, where there are times where like we manage think about social specifically, like we manage content for our clients. And there are plenty of times where like our clients will go in and like post something on their own. And maybe the style is like different than we would have done it. Or, maybe like the approach to how that content was created is slightly different than we would have maybe recommended it to be. And in many cases, we have seen that content do better, even though it's like technically not as good. I don't know if that's the word that we want to use. Yeah. But still does great in how it connects with people. And I think just in that, like we see that all the time, all the time. And there is just such freedom in that, I think, for our listeners, of like, even if you don't know, and even if it will take you time to fully feel like, oh, I love, how this looks or how this feels or how I, said this on the video, that kind of stuff. It is okay to, to put out that imperfect content, which I think leads us to our third one pretty well, which is another common barrier. You just experienced this yesterday or this week with a client we were talking about. But an obsession over quality, I think, is the third barrier and obstacle that to people being consistent. It's just this constant kind of fear of like, what I'm creating is not good enough, or people are going to judge this aspect of what I'm creating, or this can't be shared until it's absolutely perfect. That just keeps people from making, consistency a priority. And instead this sort of like ambiguous goal of, perfection or, super high quality becomes the goal rather than consistency. How do you see that play out?
Yeah, I love this one. Number one, people do not want to connect with a perfect robot. They want to connect with you. You are not perfect. So your content doesn't need to be. And arguably, it may even connect more if you, keep a little bit of that authentic, edge to it. We always say it's not that we want to produce low quality content. We just want to produce content that connects, and that can look a lot of different ways. Secondly, no one is looking at it as critically as you are. This is true about all of life.
Yeah.
You hear those quotes about like, no one is as mean to you in your head as you are. Like, no one is going to talk to you that way. Same with your content. I was just meeting with a client who was, he's a construction manager for some really high-end homes. And he was like, I'm just not posting anything because I'll take a quick video and then I'll see like a little piece of the roof, like isn't, quite how I would want it. And I'm like, no one even knows what the roof should look like, my friend.
Right.
Like, you are the only one.
Very few people for sure.
Yeah. So just an example of it's so easy in our own heads to get stuck on that when no one else is noticing that. They are seeing so much, bigger of the picture, even just recognizing that drip of content of like, hey, they're here and they show up. Like sometimes that's what you get out of content. And that is, absolutely enough. And then I think third, this applies to the idea of, perfection or, not putting your content out, but just in general, like people, you assume they remember so much more about what you said than they really do. I tell my clients all the time, like, yeah, I know we said that. We need to say it 8 more times because, people just like don't take it in. And so the same is true with the quality piece of like, again, people are not paying as close attention as you think they are. And so that relatability and just the fact that you're putting content out that is, something you care about and that you want to connect on, that's the win, not that it has the perfect last, dotted I or crossed T.
Yeah. I mean, people are going to, on that point, people are going to interact with so many more pieces of content than yours in a day. And, not only that, but like while you're thinking about your brand, most of the day, they are thinking about whatever they do for work. And they're also then thinking about the other pieces of content they've consumed. And yours is just like one piece of that, puzzle of like, that's why consistency matters, right? Is, cause it's that, slow trickle like you shared. I think one of the interesting things on this front of the obsession over quality is that I feel like a lot of people, and we've seen this across industries. You just saw it in the construction industry. I'm thinking of a specific client that in the health industry that we, had this conversation with. I think a lot of people feel that concern over quality more because they're worried about what their peers will think or like what their competitors will think than they are about what their audience will think. And I think that's fascinating because who cares what your peers think and who cares what you're not selling to them? Like you are not trying to engage them. You are just trying to engage your audience. And I think that there's this, we have a lot of conversations of like, I'm just worried that like, if I simplify my content, then, what will other people in my industry think of, my expertise or, things like that. And it's like, well, we're not selling to those people, we're selling to the people who need you to simplify it. Or it could be something similar of like, like the example you used of like, if other people, in the industry, see that one thing, which even they probably won't because they're
thinking about 100 other things too.
Other things.
They're thinking about their own content.
But it's the concern about that wrong, the wrong group of people. And instead, we're missing out on that opportunity to engage the people who would love the homes that we're building, who would love the homes that we're creating and would want to see all of these different features, because they care, and because that's something that they enjoy seeing.
I think that leads right into our final barrier, obstacle, whatever we're going to call them, of confidence. And I was just thinking as you were talking, like so much of content marketing is mindset work. Dang it. We don't want it to be, but it is. Of, worrying about the wrong people or comparing yourself to this person or that person. That is going to distract you and send you down paths that are just not going to accomplish or take you closer to the goals that you have and what you really are created to do. We talk a lot about like the world needs what you bring to it. Like the world needs your gifts, the world needs your talents. And if confidence is keeping you, maybe you have the time and you know how to do it, but you're just not confident to post it, then we don't get to see, what you bring to the world. Then you don't get to connect with the people who are waiting for you, take that down whatever angle that you can think of. And so I think, we talked at the beginning about like time being one of the biggest ones we, see from clients. I think it's confidence. I mean, I cannot count on my fingers how many times, especially, those first year or two where we would sit and talk with people and they'd be like, well, I just don't want to show my face, or I just don't think people want to hear that. Yeah. And that's just not true, but it's real at the same time. I mean, I struggle with it, even as somebody who's on Instagram for my literal job. What are you kind of seeing, from that angle right now?
I mean, we still see that all the time is, people who just, they don't feel, they feel like they don't have maybe the expertise that, that they should have to even have the authority to create content. they feel maybe subconscious about, how they deliver something or how they create or how they look. I mean, there's so many, things that play into that. I firmly believe and will always say, one, expertise is overrated. Nobody, but very few people care about, the expertise that you hold, and much more care about your passion. They care about your journey. They want to hear about your journey of almost becoming an expert than waiting until you've reached that pinnacle, which you will never feel like you have reached, by the way. But I think deeper, when we think about confidence and we think about insecurity, I mean, the truth is insecurity is going to cause you to hide your most valuable asset. And that is you. You are the most valuable asset of your brand. You have just such incredible, passion and vision and care and stories and, all of these things that make humans connect with humans. You have all of that to share. And that is uniquely packaged within you and your mindset and your vision and your goals. And that uniqueness is part of what, creates the uniqueness of your brand. But there's just so much opportunity within you to create content and to share that passion with others. And I think when we can kind of unlock that fear of being seen, of being, of having our imperfections maybe noticed, or, even of having people who don't approve or who, like our content less, when we can kind of lower the weight of all of those things, it just increases the opportunity for connection. And it just gives people the opportunity to see, what incredible value that we have to share. I mean, you say it all the time, Kelsey, of you have incredible gifts to give the world. And we don't want to hide those things behind our insecurity. It takes us, it takes opportunities for connection away from us. But it also takes those opportunities for people to connect with your passion. It takes that away from the people that you want to connect with as well.
Ooh, counseling session on the podcast today. No, it's true. All of that was so perfectly, beautifully said. And just hear us say to you as you're listening, that's also normal. It's okay that you don't feel confident. It's normal. All of us feel that. Hang around spaces where you just are reminded, like you just were, about the things that matter, kind of give you that pep talk, do the work you need to on yourself and your confidence. So don't be alarmed or discouraged if you struggle with that. We all do, but don't let that stop you and don't stay there.
Kelsey, I'm so excited about all of the episodes that we have this year. It's going to be a good year on the podcast.
I'm feeling it. I agree. This is a good one to start with.
Love it. All right. Well, there you go. Those are 4 barriers and some advice towards creating content consistently. We see you. You're doing great. You have incredible value to share with the world. Kelsey and I both believe that very deeply. And we hope you are having a great start to 2025. So to all of you listening, thank you for being here. Thank you for hanging out with us here on Marketing Should Be Fun podcast. And we'll see you right back here for the next episode.